Well, good evening, everybody. Delighted to say that I've got Mr. Gordon Shand with me today. First time for Gordon. Not the first time for Derek. We've had many a conversation on other matters, mainly other than accordion, but it's accordion matters that we're going to go for today. And I hear, Derek, that you're the chairman of the Gordon Shand fan club, so it seemed appropriate to have you on.
Yeah,
to
delighted,
join us.
delighted to be here.
Well, thanks, Derek. Gordon, first question, and the obvious one would be, Jimmy Shand comes from Octomukty in Fife, and obviously you're Gordon Shand and also in Fife. So what's the family connection between Gordon and Jimmy?
Well, there isn't any really. There might be a connection some way back, but there isn't really any close family connection there, apart from him being one of my kind of influences when I was growing up. Well, my mum and dad had Jimmy Shand records in the house, and I used to play them. And actually, I never went up to see Jimmy, but I met Jimmy Shand Jr. a few times.
Yeah,
and got a wee bit of advice on with accordion tuning and the types of accordion, because he played the 5-row button box the same as me as well. So. But the times I went up, he was a proper gentleman. Yeah. So,
yeah.
But no family connection, Paul. Sorry to disappoint you.
No. I mean, Jimmy Shand. My dad met Jimmy Shand on a few occasions, and once actually asked for a photograph that Jimmy commissioned specially of himself to send to my dad when he was the editor of what was called the Accordion Times. And so my dad was very friendly with Jimmy, met him many a time, and as you say, was a real nice, a true gentleman, But tell me, what sort of accordion does Jimmy Shand play? Because I believe it's slightly different to the sort that you're on about that you play, and of course that Jimmy Shand Jr. plays.
Yeah, well, Jimmy Shand, he plays. I think 3-row button box mainly, but he probably started off in the 2-row, which, funny enough, my dad he played a 2-row wee Hona double ray box, and he always used to bring it out at like festive occasions. So like say Hogmanay, it would get brought out for parties, and he used to store it. My dad played beer, but he used to store it in the gas cupboard, and his wee story was that's my accordion, a way to get gassed, But so basically, I can mind trying it, and it's basically like rows of buttons on the treble side, and when you press in, you get one note, and when you pull out, you get another note. I can't remember the exact name for it. Is it diatonic? Possibly, could be, but. So he played that type of box, and very difficult to play. I could hardly ever get a tune at it, even just a simple waltz. It was drive you mad. But the type I play is I play a 5-row continental accordion. There's two different systems. There's a C system and a B system. And again, I can tell you just a wee story about that. Is I play the C system, but I can mind being down at the UK Championships, and it was down at Scarborough.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a lot of years ago. And there was a stand, and I think it was Accordions of London that had a big stand. And I seen this 5-row gola sitting on the stand, and it was all white buttons.
Right.
And I thought, I'd love to try that. So I picked it up. I couldn't play a note. And everybody was watching me thinking, this boy's rubbish, but they were right. I was. But it was a B system, and I couldn't play a note on a B system. But it tends to be like the Russians that play the B system, the French guys in UK tends to be C systems, So
yes, and that's whereby the actual colours are white and black, correspond to a piano.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Whereas you're saying in this B system that's popular on certain parts of Europe, this goal, it didn't have any indication as to what the keys were. so that would have been quite daunting. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, Derek, you play the standard piano accordion.
I do actually, but then my very first experience of the accordion was actually playing my late granddad's accordion. He played a two-row, a diatonic one, just to the same as what Gordon was referencing to there. And I actually started out, I was initially going to be a button key accordionist, but I couldn't get a tutor. It ended up that I went to the late Bob McMath to get an accordion because I started knocking tunes at the diatonic one, and then I went to one of my uncle's friends, the late Alan McPhee of I think he stayed up sort of Pincateland way, and he came to my uncle's house and had a wee listen to me play, and he was like, at that point, my parents were like, is it going to be worth our while actually getting him into the accordion? And at that point, he said, you know, this young lad's got potential. If you get him a tutor, that's the way to go. And then I went to Bob McMath and I got a wee three-row button key accordion, a Pagini to be exact.
Yeah.
And it ended up that I took it away and I was having a wee go with it. And then for love nor money, we couldn't get a tutor, and it ended up that I had to get rid of that one, and that one actually went to Ray Curse from the Tartan Lads.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's still got it or not, but I then ended up going back to Bob McMath, and he got me my 72 bass piano key accordion, and that was the very, very first one that you started teaching me on, Paul.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I seem to remember there was a very popular character at the Newton Grange Accordion Fiddle Club. Is it Webster Craig that played a piano accordion upside down? So
it was the five row.
It was.
I think it was. Yeah, it was a 5-row, but he played it the opposite way around.
Yeah.
How the hell he done it, I'll never actually understand, because I can play a wee bit of the 5-row. I mean, I can blag my way through a few tunes because I've sort of got the idea of the scale, but to play it upside down, I mean, that's total magician material. That.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hard enough playing it the right way.
I was going to say, I doubt, Gordon, that you're very tempted to try and copy Mr. Craig in his playing upside down, even if it does lead to some sort of Jimmy Shand experience.
Funny enough, you saying that, I can mind watching this. I can't mind his name, but there was this young Italian student. He was playing in a big, massive concert with an orchestra, and the boy must have been only about 13 or 14, and he played the 5-row, and he was taught by Renzo Reggieri, and it's on YouTube somewhere, and he's playing this really demanding piece at 13, 14 years old on the 5-row button box, and then he stops and the orchestra take the lead. He takes the accordion off, turns it upside down, and then keeps playing the rest of the tune. And it's absolutely incredible. It's worth a watch on YouTube if you could find it. But I was slightly different for you, Derek. I actually started on the piano box, started on a wee 48 bass owner, only because I couldn't get the violin place at the school. There was one place up for grabs at the primary school. I think it was primary 5, and there was 3 of us in the class that wanted to play the fiddle. And so they said, right, you have to do a singing test. So that's why I'm playing the accordion today.
I must admit,
that's interesting. That I sometimes wonder how you would have been on the fiddle, because I mean, you've obviously achieved so much on the accordion. You know, I mean, it's amazing.
Thanks, Derek. But no, so. It was went for lessons just only for about 6 months on the piano box. the lady, I'll not mention her name, she was good at teaching theory, but she kept giving me a gold star every week, even when I wasn't practicing. So it was, I think my mum and dad sussed it out quite early. So that's when I moved to a tutor called Bob Dalrymple.
Right.
He was based in Kincardine.
Right.
Bob wasn't, he could play Scottish and he was good, but he was more into what he would call his classics.
Yeah.
With Tollefson and that kind of thing, and big on the Musette books and that. So it was more of that kind of thing I was playing at an early age, until you got into I think he always put everybody through the Jimmy Shand pipe book.
Right.
So, don't know if you've got that one, Derek. The Jimmy Shand. I think it's Book of Marches, pipe Book of Marches.
Yeah, I've got it. I've got it.
You know the one I mean, but
yeah, it's got the Sweet Maid of Glenda in it. It's got the Sweet Maid of Glenda Rule in it. I remember that.
Yeah,
one.
I think so.
That's in it, and I think Kirkwall Bay is in it as well.
Yeah, there's a few classics.
There's probably no much music that Paul hasn't got, really, to be honest, because then you should see when you go to Paul's, if you say, I need this tune, he's guaranteed to have about 6 versions of it.
I've certainly got a fair few books, and I was trying to remember where I've got my Gordon Shand book of tunes. The one with the blue cover. What's the Force? What was
the Force is Strong.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I purchased that off Mr. Dixon because he'd got a couple of them. So that's why I got my copy of that. Going back to playing the accordion upside down. Certainly, I've seen Pietro Adragna do that on YouTube, playing a tango and then swapping upside down. So yes, it does seem bizarre, but I suppose I would liken it to at the moment we've got the World Championships of Snooker going on, and it's something that Ronnie O'Sullivan has started doing, and there's a few other players have copied him. Is that something that you follow, Gordon?
Yeah, I quite like the snooker.
I was going to say
I do. I followed it for years, but I must admit this year I've not watched any live coverage, but I've been keeping a wee eye on the scores and who's getting through.
Yeah,
I see there's actually, I think there's the Scottish guys through to
Anthony McGill, and he's 7-1 up against, is it 6-2, is it, against that Kyron Wilson? I mean, that guy's done really well. Is he from Aberdeen or something?
I'm not sure, Paul. I'm not sure, but I suppose I got right into it when Stephen Hendry was coming right on the scene as a 17-year-old boy playing Willie Thorne in the first round, the World Championships, and I think he got beat, but he took Willie right to the wire almost. You know? And it's in the Alex Higgins of this world. These kind of guys are entertainers,
Oh yeah.
So great.
No, I must admit, I've been following it intensely, and I must admit, I would love to see Anthony McGill win it because he's come right through the qualifiers. You know, it's like somebody winning the Football Association Cup and having done the qualifying rounds first. You know, it's it'd be brilliant.
Yeah, some achievement. I hope he does well.
Yeah, no, I think the only trouble now, of course, is I should have put money on him at the start of the tournament, but because his odds have come way, way down. Derek, any interest in snooker?
To be honest, I've not really watched it in quite a while, but I certainly did follow a lot in the Stephen Hendry years. Yeah. He was just unbelievable, and also a wee bit of following John Higgins as well, and the likes of those players, and then the late Paul Hunter as well. He was a very, very good player to watch. I mean, there's been a lot of really good players over the years. I quite like the darts as well. The darts is something I quite like watching.
I like the darts too, to be honest. But Paul, I don't know. Do you remember back in the days? I know we're digressing a wee bit off the music, but I used to be quite good when the guys, they used to have their pint of beer next to them, playing their vodka.
Oh, yeah.
Playing the snooker. Same with the darts.
Yeah.
I can mind a few Barneys actually, especially with the darts, staying up. I can mind my mother allowing us to sit up late, me and my brother, to watch the semi-final of the darts, and it was Jockey Wilson against somebody, and they ended up almost fighting. But I think the drink might have had something to do with it, you know. Changed days.
They actually banned it, didn't they? But the real famous drinker of pints of lager, and he would sometimes have like 10 or 12 during the course of the evening, was big Bill Werbenick, wasn't it, of Canada? He was the one in the snooker, but as you say, in the darts, But it was banned, I think, because it was realised that the effect of the alcohol, as well as sometimes making people a bit fiery, but it also calmed some of them, so it gave them like an unfair advantage, But I certainly remember the old.
What always got me is how the hell did they manage to play to that sort of standard when they were kegged up on alcohol? You know what I mean? That's the equivalent of me going up after having a good bevy and trying to perform playing the accordion on the stage. It's just not going to happen.
Well, it's funny that I don't know if Gordon, if you find this similar. I find that for me, I've got tunes that I must admit I will stumble through, even if I've had a few to drink, because I've done it before. Whereas there's other tunes that you wouldn't do that, you would stay well clear of, But I've got one or two tunes that, I just feel it wouldn't matter if I've had a few to drink. I would still, attempt to play them because it does have that relaxing effect.
I'd probably side with Derek on that. I tend not to just because I'd probably. I think I'd start making a few mistakes, and I can mind being at a festival. He'll hate me for bringing this up, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. But we can mind the band being invited to play at Arbroath Festival. I was going back a lot of years again, and after we had played at one of the dances, the bands come back into the hotel and they just have a tune.
Yep. And
Graham Berry, that plays keyboard in the band and has done since day one, he had a couple of red wines, and the set was going well until we hit the key of B minor, and I don't know why it was a jig in B minor. I think it was the Celtic Matador it was called, and he just totally lost it in B minor, and we were all killing ourselves laughing. But I think the red wine reel was named after Graham Berry.
Cracking tune as well. That.
Oh, thanks, Dave.
Yeah. No, I sometimes find myself playing at little parties where people have said there's either an accordion there or bring the accordion there, and if it's a little I wouldn't do it at a gig, for example. I wouldn't want to suggest that. But certainly if you're playing with sometimes if you go to the local pub, there's a couple of pubs locally that have got accordions that you can have a shot on. So
I was going to say, Paul, unless you're in Shetland, then you just can't help it.
Exactly. Yeah. I know.
I was meant. That's the thing. I was meant to be actually breaking my Shetland virginity this year and going up to the festival just as a punter. I mean, I wasn't invited. I mean, it is something that I would very much love to be actually invited to attend with my band, because any aspiring band leader, that's like the Champions League of the accordion and fiddle scene, and I mean, my ultimate dream would be to lead my actual band in the Clickerman Grand Dance. I mean, you can't get any better than that. But I mean, I know that I'm going to have to work really hard, and you never know. Maybe one day.
Yeah, I think I'm right in saying this, Gordon, that really what they tend to do up at Shetland is quite wisely. If you've got CDs that you've done that are for sale, then they will tend to get bands up that have the up and coming bands as well as the more established. Any experience of Shetland, Gordon?
Yeah, I can mind. I don't know how many times we've been up, but it's probably 4 or 5.
Sure.
and we were invited to go up again this year, actually along with the family performing, but I couldn't. I had to say no. I had some work commitments, so I couldn't go anyway, unfortunately. But aye, it's a great place, great people. I felt any time we went, the hospitality has been absolutely brilliant, second to none, and the musicianship is the one thing, Derek, that I think if you went, I can mind the very first year we went, and I think I was maybe only about 19, 20-year-old, leading the band, and we went up, and they always have as you know, Paul, they have a mix on the night. They have a mix of a band from the mainland, then they'll bring a Shetland band or Shetland musicians in. And the band that were on the concert for Shetland was Alan Nicholson. And Alan's just phenomenal player. And it was young Brian Gear on the fiddle. And it was just like, Brian was about 14 years old, and he was absolute knockout. I mean, standard playing was brilliant. And same with Alan. And the thing I like about it is they were so modest with it, you know, it was just brilliant people. So you get the chance, Derek, I would say, definitely go and take in the experience, and I think you'll love it. And you know, hopefully you'll get the invite. They might be watching the night, Derek. You never know. You might be watching.
Well, you never know. I mean, I'm planning on hopefully getting up next year. I mean, obviously next year's quite a big year for me, as I'm tying the knot with Bethany in Cyprus in the July, and then hoping after that we'll be back, get a wee bit settled, and get under the sort of marital cosh, and then the plan will be to head up to Shetland with the new in-laws, because it's actually going to be Elizabeth and Frank Morrison that are actually going up. They've got a place sort of pre-arranged or something like that with people. So they're booking it up for the full duration. So I was just going to go up, and then I'll spread the costs with them, and then soak up the festival. You never know if I get a wee tune at these wee informal sessions. You never know if it'll get myself out there, you know, because a lot of Shetlanders don't really know much about me. Granted, they've heard a wee bit of me on Tunes in the House as of late. You know, there's been a lot of really good comments from people, and I've been invited up the sort of Highlands quite a bit with the band, but I can't do everything, unfortunately, due to work commitments. That's always a constraint, you know, because I work full time. I'm not a full time musician, you know.
What is it you do, Derek?
So I'm actually I work for Amazon in their customer services. You could say I'm kind of like a senior of that kind of role now, because I'm part of the furniture. You know, they're probably sick of the sight of me at this stage, but yeah, I mean, I love helping people, so I guess it's kind of what I do and everything like that. You know,
so it's more customer services rather than just like packing like the box that come. That seems to arrive daily for my wife, for whom it seems to be Christmas every bloody day.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not in the fulfillment aspect of it, but I actually but the good thing is, at the moment, due to the COVID-19, I'm actually working from the flat at the minute, which is quite good, because normally I get a train and head into Edinburgh from South Lanarkshire. But at the moment, I'm a wee bit tentative about getting on these trains with everything going on now. You know, I just don't want to risk it, because I mean, this virus is certainly something that's blew everything out the water this year. You know.
Yeah, Gordon, is it full-time music for yourself, or
no? I've got full-time employment myself, so busy with that. I work for a company called the CTM Group. C's for Central, T Traffic, and management. They used to be called Central Traffic Management, but we're now CTM Group. So we do the cones on the road, the traffic lights, closed motorways, you name it. We're to blame. We're to blame. And and we also have got a road marking division as well. So, but I'm quite fortunate in a way. Know that we speak about it too much because we're that busy. But the chap that owns the business that I report to, if you like, is David Oswald, who's a accordionist.
Aye.
And he's got his own band. And
all right.
So
wow.
Now and again, but as I say, very occasionally these days, because we're both so busy, but we get a wee chatter. But right, so there you go. But Excellent. I've kind of diversified, I suppose, because I studied in civil engineering, and then I was looking after construction sites. Kind of started as a young lad on sites and just worked my way up, and always enjoyed a bit of banter on construction sites. And then I've now kind of diversified into with CTM, but no, so I don't have a lot of time for the music, to be honest with you. It's actually a lot of hours at work and then with the family, so I don't get a lot of time now these days for going out and playing, you know.
Getting back to
it when I can.
So getting back to Shetland, it was pointed out to me on quite a few occasions that up in Shetland they enjoy a huge variety of music, to the extent whereby it's almost as if playing a whole set of 2/4 pipe marches as a set for listening to. That's not really their sort of scene. They're more of a they would like continental or jazz. Have you picked up on that kind of attitude up there?
I think they like their 2/4s and their real in that as well, Paul. But I know what you mean. I think in these concerts it becomes quite evident that they like the guys that will go on and do a bit of continental and like Scandinavian music's a big thing. That a big favourite of theirs as well, isn't it? And you're right about the jazz as well, eh? So either their use of harmonies and chord structures and that is really clever at times when you hear them playing.
What so what we're sort of gradually leaning towards is to look at the sort of musette scene, but I believe that's something that's of interest to you, Gordon.
Yeah, it has been. As I said earlier in the chat, was when I went to Bob Dalrymple. It was really Bob that kind of introduced me to musette music, and you've probably seen you'll have them yourself, Paul. The big musette books is like volume 1 to volume 5, and they're about that thick.
Absolutely, Balvin music,
whatever they're called. So it was picking pieces out of that, and then I suppose you were learning them at that time. I was quite late in getting involved in competition scene, but you started to learn them for more like the UK championships. Because there was polka sections and musette sections or whatever, and you would learn them for that. And then I actually he got in contact with me. He was a guy, I don't know if you come across him, called Tommy Kettles. Tommy, I'm not even sure, to be honest, and this is terrible, I'm not even sure if Tommy's still alive.
Right.
If he is, and I hope he is, obviously, he'll be a fair age. Tommy stayed in Kincardine,
right,
and he was a brilliant 5-row player himself. And he invited me over to his house one night, and he went through a lot of his collection, and there was guys like Andre Aste, Joe Basile. And he gave me cassettes away with me, and I never had them out the car. Anywhere I went, I played these. The musicianship was fantastic, and that's what really got me into the whole musette thing. And then moving on for that, I got an album, Eric Bouvelle.
And
I started listening to Eric stuff, and So, yeah, still really like the Musette music, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll come back to the youngsters and their competition prowess in a wee while. Tell us a little bit about how you got into composing, because you're a prolific composer.
Yeah, very first tune that I composed, I think I just had a stab at composing something.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think what I called it. I named it after my granddad. I think it was March. And
Right.
I needed a wee bit of help writing it out at the time, actually, because my theory wasn't that brilliant. It's not saying it's still not brilliant. It's okay, but it's average, I would say. And he was actually the maths teacher at the high school, Brendan Bernard, and he was a big jazz man. He played the sax, he played the drums. He was a big influence on me, and I asked him if he could help me write it out, and he did. And it was in the key of E.
Right.
And I put it in. It was the first tune I had ever done, and I put it in for a festival. I think it was the only time I ever put it in a competition and I never won. But I think I was only 14 or 15 or something. And then I never composed anything at all, absolutely nothing. And then when I got started up the band, and I think it was maybe 2 or 3 broadcasts in, I just had another go at composing something, and it was actually a set of reels. And I just sat one afternoon and I composed the whole set that afternoon, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
And I can mind putting it together, and Jim Lindsay, that played second accordion, says he thought they were great. And that gave me a wee boost that somebody Jim's caliber thought something of them, because you know what it's like, Paul, Derek. It's no if you like them.
Yeah.
It's more about the acid test is if other people like them, isn't it? So
definitely.
So when he said that, it gave me a bit of confidence, and I found that I've started composing tunes that I could hear my band playing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So they were actually almost getting composed for my band to play. If that's how I could hear them, because I could hear second accordion doing bits, I could hear piano, I could hear accents, I could hear rhythms, and then you pull the band together and get the band's ideas, and then pull the whole set together that way. And then I suppose I just, after that first initial set and getting a bit of encouragement, just kept going. And but you never know if the last one is going to be your last one, do you? Last one. You know,
I was going to say sorry, Derek. I'll get to you in a moment. I was just going to say that the thing I find is that if I compose something, the first thing I have to do is get in touch with, I don't know, maybe either Keith or the fellow I had on last week. I remember when I was in the band with Dave Nisbet, and I would play him the tune, and I would say, "Is that an original, or have I simply copied somebody else's tune?" You know, it was that was what I used to find.
Yeah.
You know. Sorry, Derek, you were going to say.
Yeah. If I recall, Gordon, that set that you're referring to, is that the set with Tam's Rockin' Fiddle?
It is actually, yeah.
See that set of tunes? Absolutely stunning, absolutely amazing.
Thanks,
I mean, I'm trying to get my head around playing them all, but I mean, hey ho, I mean, it's a work in progress. But I can play Tam's Rockin' Fiddle. I've managed to get that one sounding all right, but it's that it's getting everything moving along. But I mean, to be honest, there's another set of reels that you play as well that are really, really good on one of your actual RSCDS recordings.
Right.
It's really, really nice. It's the Glastonbury Tour set.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
Really, really. See the musicianship in that set. Absolutely stunning. I mean, every instrument is actually, you can hear the contribution of every single instrument in that set, it's unbelievable. And I mean,
Thanks. The one thing I will say about myself is it's to be honest, I've been really fortunate, and I really mean this. It might sound corny, but I can tell you 100% genuinely mean this. Is I've been really fortunate that to be surrounded by the musicians that I've got, and I've actually been in an environment where everybody had to play what was written, and everybody had to play that particular chord or bass note. And if you offered up a wee idea, it wasn't encouraged.
Sure.
And it didn't sit well with me, that to be honest. And I've always been of the opinion that if you can get everybody in the band to work with you, and offer their ideas, and if they're happy playing what they're playing, then the sound will take care of itself, and it will hopefully reflect, because the guys like Jim Lindsay and Gordon Smith and Gordon Robertson before him, for example, and Billy O'Donnell, first drummer in the band, Graham Berry, Alison Smith and fiddle. These people, I encourage them to say if they think it would sound better and with a different chord there, or an accent differently there, or if a wee modulation into a different tune. I mean, I come out with original ideas, but then I want their ideas. And sometimes I'll say, no, we'll just leave it as is. But the majority of the time I'll say, no, great idea, let's do it. And that's how I've worked over the years. It's worked for me. So, yeah.
I do agree with what you said there, though. Definitely. That's 100%. You know, I'm the same with my band. I mean, we'll be performing, and then Alistair MacLeod, that I've got on second accordion, will say to me, "Oh, did that sound all right?" And it's like, aye, of course, fire away, do as you please, you know. And that's my prerogative as well, you know.
Yeah. So, well, there we go.
I must admit, I don't know if you caught what myself and Peter and Keith were discussing on one of our videos, and Peter was asking Keith, because Keith's involved in the ABRSM, what used to be the RSAM, the RSAMD, which is now the Royal Scottish Conservatoire, about the accordion exams. And at the moment, they only go up to grade 5. And Peter was asking, what would be a grade 8? So I would suggest that this medley of Gordon's tunes that you're on about, with the rocking fiddle and other things in it, that sounds like it would be a good candidate for a set of tunes that should be played at a grade 8. But no, going back to the idea of, as you were saying, about having a load of input from other people, one of the favorite quotes I've read in a musical dictionary refers to Chopin, and how they compare him and his compositions as being like a master jeweler who was forever polishing his diamonds to make them even better, so always tinkering with the tune in order to try and get something even better. So it seems as if that's what you're sort of keen on.
And I suppose that I mean, we're on a completely different scale here, but the same sort of principle, I suppose, because there's times where, I mean, the phone's been a good thing for like the wee audio recorder. So if you get a wee idea, even if you're driving to work, there's been a few dodgy wee audio recordings that I've done with singing and stuff. Just because there's a wee melody comes into your head.
Exactly.
But I mean, you eventually get to the point where you think, that's the tune. I think that's the tune. But the best thing to do is to probably don't write it out at that stage. That's what's worked for me, and just leave it for a couple of days, because it will still burrow around in your head for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 days, whatever. And a wee bit like what you're saying there, I've seen me do it often, is just tweak the tune again. Just, it could be a couple of bars, give a couple of notes, and then eventually that's it, and you just move on. That's it, done, and you move on. But
Yeah. I suspect that you'll be able to confirm this. Probably similar to myself. Often write out stuff by hand, but use various software to write the music down on.
Well, that's a good point again, because up until maybe about 6 months ago, everything was by hand for me. And the only reason that I changed was mainly down to Keith.
Yeah.
Keith Dixon, because it was him that obviously teaches my kids. So he was saying, "Have you tried this, Gordon?" I was like, "No, never seen that." He says, "Give it a go." And it was the MuseScore,
Yes.
which is a free package. So
Yeah.
I thought I'll give it a go. And after a wee bit of initial teething problems, bouncing a couple of things back off him, it was I found it really, really good, and made a big difference to me for writing out my tunes. And just need to do all the old. Just need to spend about 6 months writing out all the stuff that's in my folders.
Yeah.
You know.
So technically, you're the go-to man then for music, that MuseScore, because I started using it, but I'm finding it really hard.
Yeah. Well, give me a shout anytime, Derek, and I'll try and talk you through it.
Yeah, it would be good, because I've got so many things going round in that head of mine, that I need to get written down,
No, I found it very useful, and it's no too difficult, Derek. But just once you, as I said, I had to bounce a couple of things off Keith just to keep me on the right track. But after that, it was fine. Yeah. So give me a shout anytime.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've got about 2 or 3 compositions. I'm nowhere near in the same league as you, but and to be honest, the stuff I've written is probably nothing in comparison to what you've produced. But I mean, I'm literally trying to just see if I can dip my toes in the water, because there's not a lot of the younger generation writing a lot, I
know it's a bit of a shame that, because we've got some terrific musicians, and younger musicians are up and coming that are absolutely top notch, but they're not writing a lot. I don't know.
Exactly, that's the thing.
I don't know.
It's weird that, I found that quite strange, because you've got a lot of really good musicianship in a lot of the younger generation. There's youngsters out there that would absolutely lose me, but I mean, I'm just grateful to get up on a stage and be able to play, I mean, the composing side of it is a total different animal,
Yeah, but I don't stop. Didn't talk yourself down, Derek, too much, because I've heard a couple of your compositions and they're good. So honestly, keep going with it, mate. Keep going.
Yeah, and definitely write them down. And it's funny. It depends where you look. It's like, for example, up until lockdown, it used to amaze me going round the borders and meeting people who would say to me, I'm playing in a band, and they would say, "Oh, I remember the days when there was a dance in the village hall, blah blah blah." And I used to say to them, "Well, I've just last weekend, I played for a whole load of teenagers and their parents in the local village hall. It's there. It just depends whether you can, in this sort of cluttered world, you can find this." I'll give you an example. Obviously we've got Gordon. You've got plenty of books out. Alan Crookston has just done a book. There is the music out there, but yeah, you definitely want to sort of put it down in some sort of computerized form. I'll tell you a little story about myself. I first wrote my 2 books. I did a Scott Skinner collection and an Ash book collection back in 1991, and it was using the very first version of Cubase that the local music recording studio had, and they just happened to mention that it's got this strange sort of music writing program that they didn't know how it worked, and because I'd got a little bit of knowledge, I said, well, I'll bring along my MIDI accordion, and just played it in, and then just spent the actual playing in of the tunes took no time at all. It was the editing of them afterwards once you played them in. So yeah, it's from then on I've always written them in by hand. But no, I was going to tell you about this. Many years ago, I had this pupil, Colin Foggan. He was the keyboard player in a very well-known band, function band in Berwick. And his dad at the time used to say to me, you know, if I get you a recording of something, if we can't get the music, could you have a listen to the recording and write it out? And I'd say, yeah, fine, I can do that, no problem. You know, give me a cassette and I'll write it out. So anyway, they produced this. Apparently, the band were forever being asked for the Oslo Waltz.
Oh, yeah.
So sure enough, along comes this cassette tape of I think it was Foster and Allen doing the Oslo. Well, all I got, of course, was a tape that Brian handed me, you know, and I listened to it, wrote it out, handed it back. And it was a couple of years later. I don't know if you ever met Charlie Watkins of Wem.
Yeah, a lot of years ago, down at the
that's right. Yeah, well, he lives down in London, and I went and stayed with him for a couple of weeks when I was working for Trevani down there. You know, accordion teacher down there. And he said to me, he said, "Do you know of a tune called the Oslo Waltz?" I said, "I do. I do, as it happened, you know, because I had to write it out for Colin, you know, a few years back, you know." He said, "Well, could you, if you could play it into my computer, then it'll print it out." I said, "Yeah, no problem." So we did that. And he went round for about 10 years selling this Oslo Waltz around, you know, the various music, doing it for charity, you know, it was for charity. Until one day somebody came up to him and said, "You see this Oslo Waltz? It's a very nice tune. The only trouble is it's snow in summer." for 10 years he'd been selling this Oslo Waltz, and it was all because the original tape I was given was of Foster and Allen doing a tune for the Oslo Waltz, but it wasn't the original tune. It was this snow in summer, you know. By which time, I must admit, I had come across the original Oslo Waltz, because it had been something I was meaning to say to Charlie. You know, I'm thinking, yeah, I should at some point sort of admit to the fact, you know. So we hastily re-recorded the proper Oslo Waltz, and Snow in Summer got relegated to back what it was. So, yeah, that was quite funny doing that. Anyway, tell us about the youngsters and their progress. In the particularly I noticed a really. I think you were in France. Was it last year?
It was Portugal last year.
Oh, Portugal, yeah.
And then it was France a couple of years before that. But no, they're all doing well, and they're all enjoying the music, which is the first and foremost. If they weren't enjoying it, there's no point in doing it. That's what I always tell them. So that's after they've done the practicing. No, I'm only joking. No. But no, I think they're all slightly different. They're all slightly different characters. They're all slightly got different ideas on their music. But the main thing is they're all doing well. They were approached recently by a guy, Renzo Reggieri. I don't know if you know Renzo, Paul.
I've heard the name.
Renzo. But he's one of the sort of top world tutors, I would say, and musicians on accordion. If you find them, on Facebook, you find them on YouTube. And we were fortunate enough to meet him a few years ago when we did the Trophy Mondial in France, and he was always had time for the kids. That's what I liked about him. He was a Juventus fan, by the way, Derek. So he's likes his football as well, but no. So he was kind enough to get in touch with us even when we came back, and then recently he got in touch asking if the kids would say a few words about a music book that he brought out, Accordion Kids, it's called, Paul. And I would recommend getting your hands on it, just purely because it gets you, like if you're teaching any of the kids, it gets you thinking more about harmonies and using bass, just fingering on the bass and the chords that you would use on the bass that you normally wouldn't find them in the Shetland book, for example. It's just a different way of thinking. And anyway, he got in touch asking if they would say a few words about his book, and then the kids worked with Keith on doing a few videos of tunes in his book that just to help him with the book. So they were busy with that. So they all done a wee video each for Renzo. And then Renzo got back in touch just recently asking if they would compete in the it's a PIF. It's an international accordion championship held in Castelfidardo.
Yeah.
But obviously with COVID-19, it's not going to be a trip to Italy for us, but they're working on pieces for that now. So
Yeah.
it's going to be video. It's a video thing as opposed to, I think there's some live streaming for the senior sections and that. So yeah, but the France trip was really interesting because that was the first time we had ever taken in anything like that, and they obviously had to qualify. And then when they went, Inver, my youngest boy, he was in the 10 and under, I think, at that point, in a variety section, and he came third. And then Cleland was in 12 and under variety section, and he was fourth in that section. And in the Musette section, he won it. And there was a big sort of party concert, if you like, on the Saturday, and it was Eric Bevell and his band that was playing. And I was like, this is my idol up on the stage, Eric Bevell. So it was brilliant to watch him. And then completely out of the blue, he invited Cleland up to play with him. And that was just an amazing experience for Cleland as well. The whole family, to be fair. But Eric had heard him playing in the competition, and he came up and spoke to him earlier, like a couple of days earlier, and introduced himself. And he's still been in touch to this day. And one of the things was that he actually approached Cleland about a year and a half ago to ask if he would do a CD with him, with Eric's band, which would have been amazing, but it wasn't to be because we just didn't have the time at that particular time. But I think for any Musette fans, if providing things improve, it's obviously a big question mark on that just now, but if things improve, I think Eric's due to come over to play in Scotland. I think Leonard Brown was getting him over to do some concerts. It's worth a wee listen, Derek, even if Musette's know your thing. But just to hear this guy, he's a brilliant player. Yeah.
To be honest, I'm quite open to all the styles. I think Paul was actually quite keen in getting me looking at the diversity of all the variable types of music and things like that when we were going through my journey with Paul as my tutor, and I mean, going back to what you just said there about the actual harmonies and things like that, it's probably good getting some of that stuff introduced in a way that's easy to learn, because there's been a few times when Paul would put a tune in front of me and then we'd start having a look at it, breaking it down, and then he would say to me, right, there'd be this big fancy chord or something, and I'd be like, right, how do we do this? And then he would show me. But I actually, I mean, I'm not brilliant when it comes to the actual left hand on the accordion, because I actually play it differently to the standard way, because I was actually taught by a guy prior to taking up lessons with Paul, and he taught me the wrong way, essentially. But then Paul decided just to leave me in my comfort zone with what I was used to playing. So I actually used my middle finger for the bass, and then my index finger's the chord, and then I would then invert the finger in to play other runs on the bass side. But some of the actual stuff I found really challenging, so it would be good actually having a book like you say with that to actually give people a chance to learn it really young,
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, Keith with the kids, Keith's been amazing, as you know, over the years, even just with some of the other kids as well. But the thing I like about it is I know from our kids' experience, they see him more as a mate than the teacher.
He's obviously mellowed. He's obviously mellowed because you know
the first person. You know the first person that said that to me. Funny enough.
Yeah.
No, they just see him as a mate, and every time when they're going away, see you next week, mate. See you, cheers, and the thumb up and all that. You know. So.
Yeah. I think what you've got though is in fairness, you've got a bit of a perfect storm in the fact that you know they're keen on learning, and they've got the motivation from, you know, you can never ever underestimate the importance of the parents in encouraging them. You know, it reflects greatly on the parents when you have people that you know that do well, progress well in competition, all that kind of stuff. You know perfectly well that they're getting that kind of encouragement from home, you know. And I always say to usually if I organise like my own competitions, as I'm sure Derek, you've been along to some of them, you know, I always thank everybody for coming along, but stress the importance that, you know, without the parents giving their time and energy to, you know, to promote their kids, you know, there wouldn't be any of this. But I'll tell you a funny story about Keith that he won't like me telling, but I'm going to go for it anyway. I got booked to do the Accordion Club at Gretna many years ago, and said to Keith, you know, would you come along and do the piano with us? It was myself, Mary Gristwood on fiddle, Jimmy Carswell on drums, and Keith on piano, and that was fine. So we did the gig, but when Keith arrived, because it was at the football ground. It was the middle of winter. It was like a November evening, Sunday night, and it was freezing, you know. And he came in, you know, to the club, you know, in plenty of time to start, you know. But he was frozen because his Mondale estate, the heater had packed up on it. You know, it had completely I can mind that car. Yeah. So anyway. He was. I think he was. It was mentioned about could he give Mary a lift back so far up to, you know, up near where he was. But he said in all honesty, he said, Mary, I would not put you through that. It'll be horrendous trying to go along in my car, you know. So anyway, I got my mum's car, which I picked up Jimmy, and my mum was with me, you know. And so as we were heading up the A7, I texted him, you know, pulled over, texted him, and said, you know, hey Keith, thanks for helping it out. Thanks for helping us out tonight. You know, it's bloody roasting in mum's car. to which he simply replied, "Ha bloody ha." But yeah, it's funny how, you know, Keith has actually got an absolutely fantastic sense of humor. In fact, when I first knew him, he was the one that was cracking jokes regularly.
Yeah,
it was, you know.
I get quite a bit of banter with him. Most weeks, to be honest. Yeah. No, but we go back a long way anyway, because I can mind even. I think it was actually quite a funny wee story, but I think we met originally when I was down playing with a Fife Accordion Orchestra at the UK Championships. Yeah. And Keith was down probably with his orchestra. Yeah. And we got we got sort of involved with the Irish group. Right. So we ended up, don't ask me, I can't mind the details, probably a bit blurry, but we ended up in this hotel and the place was stowed, and I was playing lead and Keith jumped onto second accordion, and honestly the place was mobbed, and it was great atmosphere, great laugh. And then the hotel manager came in and went, you know, anyone that is not a resident in this hotel, they must leave now. And everybody left. There wasn't any residents. the whole place had been hijacked. Honestly, brilliant.
That's a bit miserable because I mean, if you're with the Irish, the bar will be going constantly.
Yeah. Oh, it was heaving.
Yeah. We had
We actually ended up getting invited. After that night, we got invited. They said, "Well, you come over and do a ceilidh with Ballymoney." And so it ended up, it was me, Keith, and Gordon Smithy. So the three of us went to Ballymoney, and that was a trip and a half as well.
Right.
Some stories can be told, some can't be told. But but we just, I think we were in Keith's Mondeo, and we were running late to get on the ferry. And we had to phone ahead and ask them to keep it there till we got there. And Keith was going about 120 miles an hour, trying to get on the boat in time. It was like something out of Only Fools and Horses. When we got there, it was just take off right up the ramp and onto the ferry.
Yeah,
it was funny. It was a good memory of that.
Oh, cheers. Yeah. It's the stories you could come out with Mr. Dixon and as I say, various travels to everywhere. Oh, that's right. Okay, so I was distracted then for a moment. That's Derek. Yeah, he's had to leave us. I need to go this now. Pass on my apology. Yeah, that's fine. What I'll do is I'll just do this. Just bear with me a moment.
Yeah, no worries.
I'll just quickly do this.
Is he all right?
Yeah. There we go. So that's it. Yeah. And I can do this. So we'll just clear that. That's good. You like your snooker and the darts. I must admit, I read a little bit of your profile. We get to the serious stuff. I liked your comment about politicians. I think we are in total agreement with them.
I can't even mind what I said.
Yeah. Well, basically, that don't trust any of them. They're just a bunch of lying whatsits. What about football? What's your interest when it comes to the football? Have you got a team that you support? Yeah,
I like. Believe it or not, it's debatable whether a football team, but I like Alloa.
Right.
Alloa Athletic. Just, I suppose it's one of the ones, Paul, that you support the team that you were brought up by your parents. And it was my dad used to take me and my elder brother, to the Alloa games when we stayed in Tillicootery. Alloa was only 4 miles away.
Yeah.
So my dad and his friend, where we'd go to all the home games together, and then my dad would take his car 1 week to the away games, and then his Harry, who was my dad's pal, he took his car the following time to the away games. So we were going home and away, and they had a really, really good team at that. At one point, a guy called Alec Totten was the manager, and Alec Totten went on to. He left Alloa and went to become the Falkirk manager.
All right.
And then he actually became the Rangers assistant manager to Jock Wallace, Alec Totten. And then when Alec Totten, when Jock Wallace, I think he eventually got sacked, and Alec Totten was the interim Rangers manager. And I actually know Alec's son pretty well, Bruce, and Bruce tells the story that his dad, Alec Totten, is the only Rangers manager to have ever driven a Montego car.
Well, that's some achievement,
But no, Alec Totten for me was probably, I would go as far as to the best Alloa manager that in my lifetime, and that was the best team that they had at that time before he went to Falkirk. Yeah. But I suppose it's something quite nice about supporting the smaller team. It's a wee bit of yo-yo. You go up a division, then you come down, you go up, you come down. But it's the boys. I sometimes take the Cleland and Inver as well. When where I stay, it's only about a 5-minute walk to Dunfermline's ground.
Yeah.
we never go. I always take them to the Alloa games because that's where I was brought up. So that's it. Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, for I have actually got my level 3 City and Guilds. I worked as a mechanic at a garage, so I didn't do enough years to be a time served mechanic, but I'm a fully qualified mechanic. And talking about Montegos, to change a timing belt, the good thing about Montegos, if the timing belt goes, they're a safe engine. The valves won't hit pistons.
All right. Okay.
And you can change a timing belt. The official timing belt time for that is an hour. I remember once I did one straight after work in 45 minutes. It's the only time I ever got any kind of praise off the boss. It was on this guy that had come in desperate, this something wrong with the engine, He was, as I say, he was lucky, because normally when the belt goes, it's a disaster. But no, is there some? No, is it Alloa that there's like a sort of a partnership with or like a twin with a team? Is it something like Rochdale in the English league?
No,
I've heard about this on like I listen to mainly the Radio 5 Live, because it's all to do with sport and stuff.
Right.
And I'm sure there are supporters of some of the lower English teams that regularly go and visit the Scottish team. So I'm sure. Yeah. No, me, for my sins, I was a season ticket holder for 7 years at Hereford United.
All right. Yeah.
In fact, when they had John Toshak as their manager, and they went into up to what was then the first division, they had they played against Hereford United in the Welsh Cup final, which was a two-legged affair. And I mean, at the Vetchfield, the first game, there was about 45,000 there, and there was several thousand Hereford United fans. And I actually got arrested and thrown out the ground by a policeman. Yeah.
What league are they in now?
Well, the trouble with Hereford, they went completely out of business, so they can't even call themselves Hereford United anymore. They now have to be just Hereford FC, and they're in like Division 5. But it might even be Division 6, which then sort of disperses into this sort of huge sort of pyramid of other leagues, which then feed what is now the Vanarama Conference. It's basically Division 5, but you get a lot of other leagues that feed that league. So I mean, at one time, Hereford United they actually got promoted to the second division, what was then the second division, and they went to the top of the league, and they were the main featured team on Match of the Day, and they got walloped 5-0 by Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Oh well.
And from then on, it's just been a disaster. It's been a total. That was back in 1976.
Right. Okay.
When they got up, their top scorer was a guy called Dixie McNeil, who scored a record for the league that year, something like 39 goals, and it was it was happy days, but days.
I've always been doing okay. They've been probably punching above their weight for a couple of seasons, to be fair, in the Championship. So
are they all right?
There's a couple of part-time teams in the Championship. I think it's themselves and Arbroath.
Right.
The rest are all full-time. So the fact that they never got relegated, stayed up last season and the season before, says a lot about them. They're quite a well-run. They're a well-run part-time team. I think they're one of the best part-time teams in Scotland. That's good. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. This season could be fun.
Yeah. So there's still the 4 tiers, isn't there, in Scotland? The Premiership, Championship, and Divisions 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And Berwick Rangers, they'll be either Division 2 or 1.
Do they not even put out that? I might be wrong. But
maybe
they might have even just went right out the league last year.
Right.
Because you know how they brought that kind of pyramid system in where, like the lower leagues, that whoever comes through that plays the bottom of League 2. I think I might be wrong with that, Paul, but I think Berwick ended up getting put out the league.
No,
it's a shame after all the years, but
Well, maybe, but then you see, the thing is, I regularly attend Shielfield Park, but it's not for the football; it's for the speedway, the motorbike racing there, and I know that the actual ground is owned by the Berwick Rangers Supporters Club.
All right.
Which is it's that I mean that's some achievement,
Yeah.
So I wondered why they'd agreed to have the actual track widened in places, because trouble with speedway is you often find that, for example, in the Bradford Bulls were one of the big rugby league teams.
Right.
They won, and they played at Odsal, and they kicked the speedway out because they wanted to widen the pitch, and the speedway just had to go, and so that wasn't very chuffed about that. But anyway, we should really get back to back to the music, but I've just realised it's now an hour and 10 minutes. I did warn you, didn't I? I said we will do, and it'll seem like 25 minutes, and all of a sudden, that's it. So I had in fact invited Mr. Happy and Peter Woods, and unfortunately they were unable to join in. But you never know. Maybe next time.
No, delighted anytime. Just give us a shout, Paul. Thanks for
giving me
a shout. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining in. And what I would also ask is that I saw that you've got a book of tunes out of specifically for pipers.
Yes. Yeah.
Called The Journey.
Yeah. It just so happens that this is a paper copy, but that's it there.
Yeah. The Pipers collection. So I was going to ask you, is the pipes another instrument that you play?
No. But probably when I was starting out with the band, I was always keen to try and get some new material, and I suppose try and get new tunes introduced that people hadn't played before in the Scottish dance band scene. But not just for the sake of it. I wanted them to stand up and be really good.
Yeah.
And back then, I used to search all the different music shops to try and find new material that would have came in, pipe books from Canada, Ireland, wherever, just across the world, really. And I found actually it was one of the best places there was a shop in Blairgowrie. Right. I used to travel for Tillicooty up to Blairgowrie and spend a fortune on music books.
Yeah.
Come back and then just spend hours and hours going through all these books. So the collection that I've got of pipe music is actually phenomenal. But it cost me an absolute fortune over the years. But it was nice to get these new tunes integrated with some of the older classics, and that's what I always try to be, I suppose, slightly different for someone else, if you know what I mean. So I always liked the pipe music, and I got to kind of know some of the composers that I liked, with some of the stuff like Bob Worrell and Gandhi and Robert Matheson and these kind of guys. So when I started composing, probably subconsciously, I was composing quite a number of pipe tunes. And then for a good few years now, something I've been wanting to do was just to bring out a book that is scored for the pipes.
Yeah.
And I actually contacted, a couple of years ago, Kyle Rowan. Don't know if you know young Kyle.
Yeah.
He's a great accordion player, but also a really good piper. And I asked if he would be interested in trying to score my tunes over into for the pipes. And he said, yeah, he would. But it's just like everything else, Paul, you get busy with work and busy with family, and it never happened.
Yeah.
And then I suppose with the COVID-19 and a lot of shutdown, and it gives you time to think about things and life in general. And I thought, you know what, I really want to do this. And I'm just, so I'm going to do it. So I phoned up Kyle again and asked if he was still up for it. And he said, I'd be delighted. He had just finished the university. He had a bit of time on his hands. So, and he's been great help. Put a lot of effort in sending me audio tracks of him playing the tunes on the pipes as well.
Excellent.
So finally, it's actually the book is just away to the printers today.
Excellent.
So I don't know when it will be ready for release, but I'll obviously put something on my Facebook page when that's ready. But it's been quite encouraging. I've had a few pipers from abroad contacting me, just asking for some of my tunes. I've heard them on Facebook and stuff. So yeah, hopefully it goes okay.
Yeah.
But it's not a commercial exercise for me. It's just something It's something I've wanted to do. So if some pipers play them, I'll be delighted. Yeah.
There's a definite, isn't there, a sort of repertoire of tunes for accordionists that we tend to play a lot of, obviously, violin tunes, don't we, or tunes that you'll find in the violins book. I was reminiscing earlier today with one of my pupils about the time when you would often refer to Care's Merry Melodies.
Yes, I had that.
It was a landscape book, and on each page it would have like 8 tunes, and the print was so small on it, wasn't it?
Yes.
But there was like 440 tunes in a book,
good tunes in there, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, the accordionists rely quite a lot on fiddle tunes, but then also the same is true. We do use a lot of the pipe tunes, don't we? Do you find sometimes that when you're writing a tune, you feel that this is more of a pipe tune than, say, a fiddle tune?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know pretty much straight away if it's going to suit the pipes or no. And that obviously the pipes, it's a different scale. So I was
going to say, it's
like if the tune's an A, the key A for us, it's a G natural, isn't it?
Yes.
So no, you get a good feel for it. I think straight away you kind of know if it's going to work.
Yeah. Sorry, I suppose what I was really saying was, do you find yourself sometimes deliberately writing a tune which you want to be a pipe tune as opposed to suitable for the pipes as opposed to suitable for the fiddle?
Yeah. Not years ago, I never used to bother with that.
Yeah.
But funny enough, for the book, a lot of the tunes have just been composed recently, right. And then I actually got to the book was meant to have to start with. We spoke about 30 or 34. I think 34 maximum tunes was what was going to be in the book, but I actually ended up 44,
right?
Because I ended up composing quite a few ones, and once I got the book, then I got it was almost like a bug.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, and every time I was picking the accordion up, there was a wee melody would come into my head, and I just kind of developed them every day. And then before I knew it, it was these other tunes. But it was probably the only time that I've kind of wanted to compose something more specific, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it was specifically for the pipes. But that was only recently I've kind of done that. Before I would just whatever came into my head.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I've never ever done, and it's just a personal thing for me, is that the tunes that I write, what I would say is they're never just written for the sake of it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do, and some people are talented enough to do this, but it's not for me as just to be commission tunes for people and like earn money from it, if you like, which is great for a number of people. I'm not saying otherwise, but it wouldn't work for me. There's got to. What I'm really saying is, I can't just turn on a tap and make it happen. You know
absolutely.
What I
mean? Yeah.
But
I must admit, occasionally I've sat down with the fully intention of just playing around and seeing where if I can come up with something, So sometimes I've tried to sort of force the issue as it were, but most of the time I think it's a case of if you've only got like a little group of notes that can then be the seed to That then leads to some more notes. Like, you end up with doing a little motive. That's like a sort of questioning phrase. Then you get the answer phrase, and it just sort of develops from that, doesn't it?
It can do. No, it can do. Yeah.
Do you ever? I mean, going back to this, as I say, one of the things I always do is, if I write something, the first thing I ask myself is, have I actually composed something original, or is it actually somebody else's? But do you find sometimes, having listened to a particular type of music, you then, because I find that sometimes if I've listened to a type of music, I then go and, for some reason that type of music's in my mind, and I end up writing something that I think, that's somewhat and that then is the reason why I'm questioning myself. Have I simply copied what I've just heard, or have I come up with something?
No. No, I have as well. I know what you mean. Like if I've been spending a lot of time listening to Musette music, for example, then I tend to. I have seen myself compose a couple of Musettes, but it's been on the back of listening to Musette. But rightly or wrongly, I've never really questioned myself whether it's been original or not. So hopefully, touch wood, that it is. But and then if I'm and certainly, like, I listen now and again to some of the folk rock bands and Scary Vaughan and these kind of guys, and then you start writing some of the pipe tunes that are done that would suit more that style of band, as opposed to it's no written for a Scottish dance band. It wouldn't really work for a Scottish dance band, but it would work. I can hear it in my head, the type of arrangement that would work with it, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Which
I suppose going back to what we were talking about, love of musette and different types of music. It's for me, it's quite important to sort of appreciate many different styles of music. That you I suppose because of liking all these different styles, you end up then being able to compose stuff in a variety of styles, and and appreciate that type of music. And I was going to say, I suppose probably like myself, there isn't one style of music that you enjoy more so than another.
Yeah, obviously growing up, it was kind of Scottish music in the house. Jimmy Shand and even Callum MacLean and Bitty, Jimmy Blue albums and that kind of thing. So that was a big influence in the early days. And then as I progressed with my music lessons, then I started getting kind of broadening my horizons on different tastes with music. But I suppose on the composing front, one of my highlights during the summer there was there was a guy that I particularly enjoyed listening to, and he'd great arranger of music, a guy called Jeremy Laffon. If you ever get a chance to listen to him, I think he's brought out one album, but he's a terrific musician. So I composed I was in one of the Musette days, so I composed this Musette and I sent it to him, and I got a nice message back, and I thought that would be the end of it. And about a couple of weeks or a week later, he sent me a video of him playing it, and he was over the moon. And then he sent me another video.
Yeah,
and it was him improvising on what I had done.
Yeah,
and he just took the tune to a different level. Actually, he was just incredible, and he put it on his Facebook page and everything. That was quite a highlight to see how a wee fat baldy boy from Scotland, if you like, had composed this Musette, and then for somebody like that I'd admired and respected so much in the Musette world, this Jeremy Laffin, to play it and then put his own spin on it. It was great. So
I don't mind embarrassing Derek slightly in saying that it was interesting speaking to his mum and dad when he first started. I think it was his dad that said to me, ever since Derek was a youngster, and whenever there was any type of pipes and drums on the telly, that was that was Derek. Eyes light up. glued to the TV because of the pipes and drums, you know. So
yeah.
I just wonder if that's going to be a huge influence on Derek because you do come across. I mean, you're probably the same. People who that, you know, they are sort of focused mainly on, you know, playing pipe music, and that would be, you know, if I mean, am I right in saying that there's even, well, I know there's pipe music sections, but I mean, is there even gatherings? And I know there's the San Marino gatherings. I'm maybe getting confused with the is it the trad? You get these gatherings where people play music, and it's got to be in a very traditional style.
Yeah,
I think that's what I've seen mentioned before.
but I know what you mean. There's a lot of people in our accordion world that they'll sort of specialise. Their love is the pipe, is pipe music. Yeah. And they probably just want to stick to that. They don't have an interest in Musette or whatever, and that's fair enough because everybody's different in it, you know. So I understand.
I mean, it's just that as you get to, I find that there's good spin-offs by being interested in, you know, even in classical continental music. There are now beginning to be sort of overlaps whereby you can integrate some of the ideas that you get in, you know, as you say, you know, Musette, classical music. We're getting more and more of that sort of integration of music. You know, as you mentioned just a moment ago, you know, you get your folk rock.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where does that come from? You know, it's. I like it. Listen, God, I'm going to let you go because that is nearly 10 o'clock, and as I say, that's nearly an hour and a half, and it's just flown past. So,
well, listen, I've enjoyed the crack, and thanks for inviting us on. And
thank you for joining us. And
when's your next one, Paul?
Well, I've contacted a couple of people. So next week, I've yet to definitely establish who it's going to be, but at the moment I've got a Shetland fiddler in the pipeline, and also in the pipeline somebody who local to the borders who actually had a number is actually in the country and western charts, has had #1 hits in the UK in the country and western charts. So yeah, it should be interesting. You know, I mean, it's during these lockdown times, it's good to reach out and chat with, you know, all these various musicians, and you know, I mean, I'm open to suggestions as to who to get in touch with, you know, and
as I say, I really enjoyed your chat with John Carmichael that night.
Yeah,
it was really informative, and really enjoyed it. So I look forward to listening to these ones in the future, Paul.
Well, yes, as I say, I'm hoping that Keith and Peter will be able to join us again at some point. I know that Alan and John, they enjoyed joining in, and the lads that joined us last week, that they've all played in various band setups, either, you know, as two of them together, or, you know, whatever. So these are guys I've known a long time, but there's a whole world of musicians out there, and whilst the you know, when it comes to the competitive festivals, yes, it's competitive, but it's an incredibly friendly world, isn't it? You know, like the accordionists world is, you know, it's full of you know, great people that you know.
I was going to say that's where friendships are made at these festivals.
Yes,
They tend to last a lifetime.
That's right. Yeah, and little things like you were saying, like, you know, just you know, you're having a session, you know, like sort of say at the Isles of Wight, you know, when you've got a few other people there joining in on that session, it's just great fun, isn't it? You know,
it is. But
yeah.
Anyway, thanks again, Paul.
Pleasure, and we'll catch you soon. And you know, I think I'm a bit too late to put some money on Anthony McGill, but I would definitely love to see him win the World Championship. Well, you know what his nickname is?
No.
Well, you remember how Steve Davis was the Nugget?
Yes.
Well, his two nicknames are the Scottish Nugget and the Ginger Nugget, because they're likening him to Steve Davis. Well, if he could do that, that would be brilliant.
Aye, no. So
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
All
okay,
right, mate. Right.
Thanks, Gordon.
Cheers, mate. See you later.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.